The other thing is this. If at all it's the question of devolving elections, how Raila is putting it. And
because he did say it should be modeled after the US Electoral College, yes.
But you see, let me ask you, we are likely to find ourselves even in very serious, dangerous, politically situations if at all we embrace that. And I remember that even at some point Raila Odinga was tinkering with the idea of the electoral votes being introduced as an idea within our election management system. If at all we were to embrace that, I can assure you, and I would want to use the analogy of the Hillary Clinton election and versus Trump. If that was to happen in Kenya today, and Raila Odinga was Hillary Clinton and then William Ruto was Trump in the circumstances of that election, that the popular vote is with Raila, and then the electoral vote is with President William Ruto, the question that Raila would have raised would be legitimacy. That where does the sovereign power and who are the sovereign people and what have they determined? And remember that even as he's arguing about the issue of legitimacy of this administration, erroneously so, he's talking about the will of the people, Article 1 of the Constitution. And if we find ourselves, for example, if we're to embrace the electoral college system, we would say that then, and fashioning around the American system, that all members of the constituencies, the 290, plus possibly the 47 senators, would constitute the electoral college or represent the same. Question would be, do these elected leaders represent the ultimate will of the sovereign? That would be a question that will have to be determined then. And in fact, we'll have endless battles in court concerning the same.
Okay.
Another thing is that with this idea of devolving elections that he even gave in his speech in Nigeria, Raila Odinga, of course, is cleverly moving the goalposts. You remember that even in the Kibra rally, he did not critically pay his attention to the whistleblower, the mythopoesis of the whistleblower as he had created in the Jacaranda rally. All these are goalposts that are shifting to play the political game. And like I was opining during the break, is that Raila's interest and scheme here is not even actually to alter the electoral system. The issue for Raila Odinga here in this moment, as he's playing his political games, is to craft a way that he can lead to a referendum that's agreeable to the people through a popular initiative. And that's the likely thing that he'll do after all these rallies across the country. And you remember that even with the president's memorandum the other day, Raila Odinga said that the president cannot initiate amendment of the constitution, as was the decision of the Supreme Court that dealt a death blow to the BBI. And so we are likely to see a push for amendment of the constitution through a popular initiative after all these Raila's political rallies are happening, because he wants to create some kind of political might. But as Lincoln said in his time, might does not make right. Right makes right and actually should keep right.
A referendum on what?
No, basically Raila is pushing for amendment of the constitution, and the referendum would be on various issues. Like, for example, the issue of devolving elections. It cannot happen unless you cause amendment to the constitution, because when you look at the structure of running elections under Article 88 of the Constitution, which is under the IEBC, when you look at the suggestion that, and when you talk about devolution, is transferring that power administratively from the national management of it to, for instance, if it's a question of the counties. But the question would be, and why I'm saying that there will be even a referendum on all these issues, recall that even the suggestions in the Supreme Court decision in the just concluded presidential petition, as well as some of the recommendations even by IEBC in the post-evaluation report, some of these changes that may want to improve or ameliorate the management of electoral system may have to come through amendment of the constitution.
Okay.
And that is what may happen. But you see, just like one of the panelists indicated, if at all this administration, President William Ruto, would acquiesce to a referendum, that referendum will not actually be primarily on the amendment of the constitution, but a referendum on his politics and his governance. And remember that that is what Raila Odinga did in 2005, the referendum. And it was a referendum on Mwai Kibaki, and you remember what happened in 2007, 2008. A referendum in this term of President William Ruto will be a referendum on his governance. And that's actually what Raila Odinga would want.
Right.